Today I have the great pleasure to welcome my dear friend Inge Van Belle. Inge, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Philippe.
We have been expecting to do this podcast for a few months now, and I'm so happy to have you today. Until recently, we've been colleagues delivering consultancy at a very high level to a very prestigious set of corporations in the Middle East. And we have been exposed to a very demanding set of requests. So before further ado, I would like to ask you some burning questions about what do you think the companies and the clients today, from a corporation point of view, are expecting, and what are the trends today in employee engagement, for example?
Yes, thank you, Philippe, and it's a pleasure to be here. So what I see nowadays is that a lot of leaders come to me because they experience some kind of gap. A lot of top people are very much aware of the importance of culture, of employee engagement, but they don't see this translated into reality. We all know that 77% of the workforce nowadays is not engaged. So what I see is that it's not so much a lack of effort of the leaders, because they do take a lot of initiatives. They organize a lot of programs on well-being, on engagement, on learning and development, but it is more a lack of impact. So that gap between the strategy, between the intention and the operational reality is becoming more and more pressing nowadays.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And what do you feel the leaders are fundamentally doing different today?
Well, we've all seen nowadays all the things that leaders do are becoming super visible. Every decision that you take, every silence as a leader is noticed. So a lot of leaders become paralyzed because of that. What also happened, of course, is what happens now with AI. So we see that a lot of the disruption doesn't happen so much outside of the organization, it happens inside. The leaders get a lot of pressure from the boards. They have to deliver instantly, and then of course they've got the workforce, and they've got to balance between agility and empathy for their people. And AI sits right at the middle of that pressure. So a lot of leaders are feeling unsure, unsafe, because they don't know too much what to do. So I would say, yes, there is some kind of leadership crisis, and AI is not resolving this. It's actually emphasizing it.
Yeah, of course. So what would be your views with regards to AI? It's a very hot topic. There's a lot of thought about it. There's AI from a corporate point of view, where companies feel the pressure to be compelled to engineer some new solutions that are based on AI. But there's also AI that individuals and executives can be using on a daily basis. There's a fear of, being outspaced perhaps by the technology from both sides. So how would you see that? How would you reconcile those issues?
So yes, what we see indeed is there's a big trend and a big fear around everything that is AI. Organizations are trying to become AI fluent. There are a lot of efforts happening when it comes to AI. But what we also see is that the biggest problem is not so much AI itself, but everything that surrounds it. So our structures, our organizations are not built on it. So what I really think we should do first is really look at the leadership and how they interact with their people. Because what we call nowadays AI augmented leadership is leaders who are able to navigate between that AI element, let's say even working with AI as AI agents, so some kind of new colleagues, and combining that knowledge, that expertise, and that convenience that you have with AI agents, and combining that with the real employees, the human. So the ones that are able to balance these two out, these will be the ones that are 10 times more productive and more efficient than the other ones.
Yeah.
So, and to sum it up, for me, when you look at all this, I think it's a bit the paradox of the AI age, this AI era. So the more advanced AI becomes, the more human leadership will have to be.
Exactly. And you talk very often about clarity and trust in your book, and we'll go back to the employment engagement, what else book later on. Why those values have become such critical leadership currencies today?
Yes, indeed. So clarity and trust, these are my two favorite words. Yes, it's clarity is even my word for 2026. So yes, so what I see is, of course, there's a lot of noise going on. We are living in the information age. People get too much information nowadays. And this is where clarity for me becomes oxygen. People nowadays have the attention span of a goldfish. If you bring clarity, simplicity, that's actually giving them peace of mind. And employees could rather live with difficult truths than to live with long periods of unclarity and with ambiguity. So that's the first one, that's clarity. The second one, trust. Obviously, I did not invent this, but it has become more relevant than ever. And I like to refer to the trust equation. And just for you to refresh your memory, what is the trust equation? So trust consists of reliability, credibility, and intimacy divided by one big factor, and that's self-orientation. So if we apply that to organizations, so leaders should be credible in their actions, they should be reliable in their communications, they should remove fear and have that level of intimacy. But if their ego is becoming too big, then the whole trust becomes an issue. So this is why, for me, these two are two very pertinent parameters for organizations nowadays to see how well they are performing.
Okay, very, very interesting. Going back to a little bit the roots and where you come from and your experience, you come from an amazing entrepreneurial family. And we have been interviewing here in this podcast your husband, Yves Commands. Together with him, you created initiatives like the Herculean Trophy, the Bravos, and so on. So what motivated you to build these initiatives in the first place?
Yes, I think the standard answer of an entrepreneur when he or she is asked why they created something is frustration, obviously. So first of all, I don't have a background in HR or in anything that is consulting related to leadership or culture. I actually studied law. So when I was starting in my corporate career, I was very fortunate to work in a company with a very strong culture. Now, I learned that this is not the case everywhere. A lot of organizations are talking about these topics, but again, they are focused too much on everything that is dashboards and big bling bling numbers. But the reality is not there. So this is why we created several initiatives. One of them is Herculean Trophy. It's a corporate team challenge that brings together teams from very different companies. And we've organized it in 10 different countries, and the impact has been huge. Now, because we believe, not that you need to be sporty to participate, but we do believe that sport has a unique power. As Nelson Mandela always said, sport has the power to unite people in a way little else does. So you can see it also in your private life when people are passionate about sports, whether it is rooting for the football club or cricket club, or if they are playing paddle, they become united. It actually supersedes everything that is your background, that is your nationality. So that's why we are using the sports to unite people. No hierarchy, informal networking, and people connect in a different way. Then we, apart from Herculean Trophy, we also have the Bravos. The Bravos are some kind of employee engagement awards. We created this not because there were not enough awards already in the world. I think especially here in this region, there is an awards inflation. too many initiatives. So this was not, we didn't want to create another award. What we did want to have is have a journey for companies that might have already good employee engagement or a good culture, or that are maybe in full transformation, but want to know what is the next level that we can take. How can you do this? By having honest conversations, not by showing off with numbers that are not credible anymore. So helping them take that next step through an ecosystem, through a platform where we allow that conversation to happen. This is, according to us, the best way to move it forward.
We'll come back to the Herculean Trophy in a nutshell, but let's jump on the Bravo, which is very interesting. I've been invited a few times, and it's very, very compelling. Can you explain a little bit? So, is it an ecosystem? Is it a club? Is it a trophy? I think it's a little bit of all of that, but can you explain a little bit, and how can people that are interested join the Bravo, and what can they take out of it?
Yes. So the best way to explain it is you can go on a journey where an ecosystem of experts that have very different backgrounds, and a lot of them are not HR people, but come from very different sectors, very different industries, and they help you go to the next level. Because we do think that you cannot solve big issues or wicked problems like employee engagement or culture or leadership by just always having one or two consultants talk and help you with that. So the only way to solve this is to have very different people look at it and challenge you. That's why we organize labs. We call them labs. These are experiments where people come together and discuss several topics. And one of the topics can be your very specific case in your organization, where you say, okay, we've just completed an acquisition. We've just changed our whole structure. What should we do now? Should we integrate two different values? What should we do in terms of culture? So this is where very clever people with different backgrounds help you look at it from different perspectives and actually also challenge you to take this. So you can write a case where you explain it, but instead of showing off and telling the whole world how great you are, it's actually also showing some vulnerability.
Yes.
And daring to ask, having the courage to ask these right questions.
Yes.
So people, when they see your vulnerability, they are much more inclined to help you.
So it's not only a network, it's also a place to solve issues where people open up and share views, and other people in the assembly will offer some potential solutions, and there is a debate about it. By the way, I think it happens a lot here in the same place we are in right now, in the One Media Hotel in Dubai. So it's worth saying. And what is the frequency of the meetings of the Bravos?
So it happens every month.
Every month. And what, how can people really apply for it?
Okay, so they can just go to the website and they can register for our labs. Okay. And if you want to take it a level up, then you can also register for the Bravos. There is a small fee that you have to pay, but you can do it for 1 year. And then you can also let's say, enjoy the labs with as many colleagues as you want. It's also some kind of learning journey for your internal comms team, for your HR people, or for any people who are in operations, etc.
So it's not only for individual. You can come with your team if you wanted to.
Yes, indeed.
And share with the rest of the invitees and the attendees.
Yes. And we also give the opportunity to coaches. We've got a lot of very strong coaches.
Okay.
Who can lead one of these labs.
Yes.
And every lab is different. Yeah. And every lab, the outcome is always the same. People say this is something that we've never done before. They feel connected, they've learned a lot, and it's also always in the morning, just 2 hours, and then you go back to work and you feel inspired.
Going back to the Herculean trophies, so you were mentioning that one of the idea is to integrate and to integrate teams, make sure from a corporate point of view, some companies increase their engagements through sport and through games. Again, question is where does it take place? And for example, what typically people do during those trophies?
So it's an experience of one day, but it doesn't start or stop with that one day. So it takes place every year at the 7 Stadium here in Dubai, and we also have it in Europe. And it has become a tradition for many companies. So once you register, you come back every year.
How many people participate?
So in back in Europe, we have thousands of companies participating. We have a lot of different days. Here we have about 500 to 1,000 people who participate. So what do? Well, you register your team of 5 participants, and you can enroll as many teams as you want, and you compete against other companies in 12 Herculean labors, we call them. So the good thing is you do not need to be sporty to join. So every person that is in the office, regardless of age, regardless of your athletic skills, you can be together in one team. You prepare in the months beforehand, which means that you start building that atmosphere in the weeks, the months before the event. So without realizing it, you are already crafting not just your team, but also your employer brand. And all this happens online. So you challenge other people, you collect votes from your friends and from your family members. So you become super proud to work for this organization. And then you are super proud to represent it on the day itself. And then you have the day itself, of course, but not just the sports or games. We also have a big party because we really believe that you have to celebrate at some point, and because that even strengthens the connection. And then afterwards, of course, we've got lots of pictures and people reconnect after the event with each other. So the effect is much longer than if you would just organize a traditional team building with your...
Of course. When does it take place?
So the next edition will be after the summer in October here in Dubai.
Okay, perfect. So plenty of time to get in touch with you, plenty of time to register and to have more information about it. They can contact you also. There's a website about it.
Yes, it's herculestrophy.ae. Very easy to remember.
Yeah.
And Bravos is bravos.ae.
Okay, perfect. Jumping on the topic that is really of interest and I think is very close to your heart, we could see that in the background here, you are the author of the employee engagement. What else? There's a lot of backstory about it. I mean, you didn't come up with the book like this. I think there is a one of the story come from a relocation to the region, right?
Correct, yes. So, look, during the pandemic, I wrote a book on employee engagement. It was very typical and pertinent for the European region. Now, what happened is I was invited quite often to give keynotes and to do workshops on that topic. At one of the events where I spoke for a very big German group, the CEO, the boards, and there were, I think, 100 people in the room. And one of the questions that I got was, can you give us an example of a company that you would really recommend in terms of engagement? And of course, as we've been organizing these Bravos for a lot of for many years, I could easily come up with a typical example of the typical brands that are very good at engagement. But I don't know what took me, but I all of a sudden I had the brilliant idea to come up with something completely different. I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad idea.
Probably a good idea.
But it led finally to this
So
book.
the success of the book, it was a good idea.
So I said, well, actually, it might be surprising, but I would like to give the example, not of a typical organization, but I would like to give the example of a country or even an emirate. I think when it comes to engagement, Dubai is a brilliant example. Why? Well, you have several elements that make Dubai such an example of engagement. You've got a very compelling purpose, a purpose that invites people who are not native Emirati to come and to help build the country. That's the first one. Second one is very strong leadership. We've got very strong leaders here in the region. People look up to them and they are good and compassionate towards their people. And then the third one that is super strong is Dubai and the UAE in general are masters at storytelling and in marketing and in communication. They make the story so good that you want to be part of it. So these three elements were the elements that I gave during that speech. Now, the effect was quite mixed, let's say. Some people afterwards, they didn't speak about my keynote anymore, about engagement. They only started speaking about Dubai and the Dubai effect. And some of them felt, of course, a bit against it because they said, oh, it's too much bling bling and it's not the reality. And afterwards, it was the first time that I got a not so positive note about my keynote. And of course, that stung, where the CEO said to me, it was a very good workshop keynote, but I would advise you not to use the example of Dubai anymore. So I was a bit shocked, I have to say. And I gave it some thought. And after a couple of weeks, I decided not to take his advice at heart. And then I become a bit stubborn, of course.
And you pressed on Dubai, right?
And I said, like, okay, well, actually, I am so convinced about what I said in that room that I'm not just, of course, because we were planning to come to Dubai and to relocate, I am going to promote Dubai to the main character of my book. And for me, that's what I always say. I think we should call Dubai the unofficial capital of engagement.
Exactly. That's very impressive. Very, very impressive. What I have seen recently is that you elevated the game even higher because you took Dubai as a good example, as a business case of very high engagement. And it's interesting because it goes deeply as a role model of what could be done from a corporation, but also at individual level. But you elevated the game even more because now you are working with nations. So recently, you've been very, very engaged with the Benelux Business Council.
Correct.
And now also with the European Union, you're also very engaged into this new ecosystem. So how would you translate your experience of employee engagement and what you said about Dubai into the European Union, for example, for now?
Yes, indeed. So the work that I do is moving towards really the intersection of leadership and, of course, everything that is culture and engagement, and also governance. And I see the same patterns everywhere. So it's about bringing people together, preferably physically at some point, not all the time, but preferably at some point physically, and connecting people from human to human. And this is something that we've lost a bit in these times. So I see my job as not just as an advisor, but also as a connector to bridge and to help the dialogue between nations, between people, between leaders. It's actually always the same. So I think there's an other angle than the typical public affairs persons that I have. So yes, I strongly believe in that dialogue. And this is exactly what I do with the Benelux Business Council, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And my job is also to be the liaison with the Belgian embassy. So whenever ministers or trade missions from Belgium are coming to the UAE, or vice versa, I help facilitate the dialogue.
That's amazing. That's really going above and beyond what was in the book. Now, if a CEO of a board member picked up your book today and applied just one idea seriously, what would be the biggest difference and what would be the topic they would choose, in your opinion?
Difficult choice. I would say the first thing is maybe have a look at your organization and look beyond what you see in terms of numbers, in terms of dashboards, and look at what's really happening within the organization. what experiences are you giving your employees? Because it's so much about the experience. So what kind of barriers are still there? What can you remove for them to really grow to their biggest potential, to become the next version of themselves? Not just because out of philanthropy, but because personal growth also leads to growth, sustainable growth of the organization. And we all know that engaged employees lead to higher productivity. They are 50% times higher, more productive. Of course, they stay, they thrive, which leads to higher revenue, higher growth. And of course, it is super strong in terms of your branding, employer branding, but also the brand, because the satisfaction of your customer becomes so much higher when your people are engaged.
No, absolutely. There is this correlation between the employee engagement and growth and profits, of course. And the companies and the individuals should understand that, because it goes together. But this is very kind of result-oriented and profit-oriented. What about ethics and values? Is it manageable? Is it fitting well in your ecosystem of employee engagement?
Yes, so look, it is a very valid point that you have here. What I see, and very specifically for this region, let's talk about this region. I do see that there are some ethical failures in the daily operating model in the GCC here, and it very often doesn't come from bad intentions. It comes because a lot of leaders have to take decisions under pressure. So the main thing that I would advise people to do is take a pause and reflect and have the courage to question what you are doing, and to make sure that whatever you decide, that it is aligned with your personal values and with what you stand for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's very interesting. So stepping back a little bit and thinking about your profile, I was looking at the full ecosystem. So on the one hand, with the Herculean trophies, you and your family and the business you build in are here to support corporations to integrate teams. Then there is the Bravos, which is creating a community, solving issues that people can have, but also building this community of HR, non-HR, and coaches together. You have the employee engagement book that is trying to give to all the readers a lot of your experience, having interviewed so many CEOs in the books. This is very interesting. So you have that. You've been doing, and we've been colleagues doing the same together, supporting very large organizations here to do consultancy works. So how would you describe your role today in that community? What's next in your career? And how can people or organizations contact you, and for what?
So yes, so I recently decided to go back to my passion, which is indeed employee engagement, culture, governance, and leadership. So what I love to do is have an impact, a clear impact on leaders and on organizations. So what I would like to do now is to work on that and continuously work on that and lift leaders higher to the next level. Because if your leaders are strong, if your leaders are aligned, it has an immediate cascade effect on the rest of the organization. So my mission is to help senior leaders to become a better version of themselves.
Would it be for senior leaders or corporations as a whole?
Yes, so actually both are connected, right?
Connected.
So of course, lots of organizations want to empower their leaders. So when they are looking for that, and of course, the link with engagement and culture is always there. So any project, anything that you are looking for to enhance this is something that I love doing.
So now we understand what is your ecosystem, what is your approach to employee engagement, but for the audience, a little bit understanding even better what you do. Could you share with us an example of added value that you brought forward implementing employee engagement?
Oh, that's a very good question. I love it, in fact. Let me think of an inspiring example. So at one point, there was a big governmental institution that asked us for guidance on everything that is engagement, with a specific focus on well-being. And they ask us like, okay, can you organize a few workshops? But we all know if you do 1 or 2 workshops, it's not sustainable. So what we suggested was a whole program. It was called the Heroes of that organization. So for 1 entire year, everything that they did, sometimes it was through us, sometimes it was with third parties, everything was filed under that program. And people, all the employees, were able to earn points through our app. So when they were attending a learning and development session, when they were taking care of their health, doing something on mental well-being, eating healthily, everything that was chosen by the organization was a way to earn points. And then what you get is that people who are very diverse start engaging with very different, because all people have different, let's say, triggers. So people started engaging, and it was very surprising how some people started becoming obsessed with earning these points for a whole year. So towards the end of the year, and we measured it all through our app and through our platform, so everyone was able to follow their progress. And towards the end of the program, the end of the year, we had a big celebration event where we celebrated and recognized these heroes in these different categories. And at the same time, of course, it was some kind of town hall where we not just explained all the benefits of the program, we also organized, of course, some kind of games where people could also celebrate not just their teams, but also the whole organization of the whole culture of the organization. So the effect was tremendous. And they still kept doing this. After 1 year, they still kept doing this. And you could see the difference in how people didn't just come to work, but also changed their attitudes towards themselves. It became something to, as a means to grow as a person too. And of course, this also has an effect on your family life. Yeah. So we were very happy to see the effects.
That's great. Looking at all the type of activities that you do, it's interesting how games and gaming is at the heart of everything. We see that with the trophies, where the teams are, of course, doing sports, and this is games, and the Bravos as well. I've been attending a few sessions, and it's very interesting because those are mini labs and mini games that we do around the topic. So it's very interesting. So can you elaborate a little bit more on this game element? Because I can see that in the example you just gave, there was also some element of gaming.
Look, it's not that I'm such a big game fan, but the power of gamification, it's a bit comparable like the power of sports.
Yes.
Gamification works really well. Because if you just display some activities and people have no specific purpose and there is no final goal, then it just becomes something that people do.
Yes.
When you add some kind of competition, even if it's a very friendly competition, and even if the award that they can win is some ugly trophy, people all of a sudden change their attitude. And especially in this region, people are super competitive and they always try to cheat, which is perfectly fine because we know how to balance that. The power of games is something that was very well summarized by the ancient philosopher Plato. He said, you can learn much more in 1 hour of game about a person than in a whole year of conversation. You will see what their weaknesses are. You will see what their strengths are. And this is for us a very strong, powerful, and very fast way for people to get to know each other and to connect with each other.
I can see the spark in your eyes when you talk about it. Would this be a topic for your next book?
It might be. Thank you for giving me this idea.
Gamification, yeah, and that could be maybe the next step. We'll see. We can talk about it in a different session, but yeah, I can see. Do you have in mind the next book?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's gonna be a management book. It might be something more of a let's say
humanistic book in general, or
or a novel. I'm thinking more of a novel.
Oh wow, okay,
yes,
that's great.
Yes, and I'd like to do it together with somebody a very strong co-author. So if you feel or anyone else feels like they could contribute to my novel, feel free to reach out.
Okay, that's great. So, so we'll do a quick rapid fire now, some questions to see
Yes.
what you have in mind. So one leadership habit that matters more than most people realize.
Have one honest conversation that you've been postponing, not to end it with comfort and make the people feel comfortable, but to at least to come to the truth.
Very good. One engagement myth that you would like see disappearing.
That you can delegate engagement to your HR. As a leader, it is your first responsibility. Then it dribbles down to the rest of the organization. Everyone has to carry it.
Interesting. One mistake leaders keep repeating despite knowing better.
Looking at the numbers and the dashboards instead of focusing on lived experiences.
Okay. One signal that tells you an organization is healthy or not healthy.
By the behavior that you tolerate as a leader. If you tolerate brilliant jerks in your organization, then it tells you how much of a leader you are yourself.
I love this one. Yeah, very good. Yeah, one question every leader should ask themselves regularly.
What do I tolerate in terms of behavior? What kind of behavior do I keep on rewarding instead of fixing it?
That's great. Thank you very much. So one of the few last questions I would like to ask for the audience. So if one leader is asking itself, what is the concrete action they could take in the next few weeks to strengthen their engagement and trust in their organization?
The first thing that they can do is think like a marketer. So adopt a marketing mindset. Look at how you take your customer journey and try to use that as a blueprint for your employee journey. Instead of focusing too much on the myth of the customer, focus on your employee. Take care of your employee first, and your employee will take care of the customer. I did not invent this. Richard Branson said it before me, but it's absolutely something that I would recommend any leader to do.
That's amazing. Thank you. If people want to follow your work and reflect more deeply on those topics, of course, it would be buying the Employee Engagement What Else book or continue the conversation. Where should they start?
I think not to promote the book, but the first thing is there's so much already in the book. The book also has a practical workbook that is included that you can download online. Use this, give it to your close leaders, and use it to ignite your journey. If you need any extra assistance, but you can already start with the book and it will really bring you a few steps further down the line. But if you need more assistance, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Inge, it was a real pleasure to have you. And I wish you all the best for the new events and all the events and perhaps a new book that you're about to start.
Thank you, Philippe.
Thank you
It's
so
always such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.